Birmingham, Alabama City Police used fire hoses and police dogs against children and adults engaged in nonviolent protests against segregation.
I grew up with the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 60s. We moved around quite a bit while my father struggled to build a life for us. We lived in Montgomery during the bus boycott and Tuscaloosa when Governor Wallace made his stand in the schoolhouse door at the University of Alabama where Dad went to school. We lived in Birmingham during the reign of the white supremacist police chief Bull Connor. The South was becoming an unsettling place for a pacifist family who believed in the equality of all. I wondered how good Christian white people could do these things to good Christian black people. The summer of my 11th birthday, I remember reading of the discovery of the bodies of 3 civil rights workers who had disappeared in Mississippi. To me, it was strange. 2 of the 3 were white. It wasn't just black people they were after. It was anyone who was for black people. Later, we found ourselves living in New Jersey. One afternoon, while trying to find the Bronx Zoo, we found ourselves lost on a deserted street in Harlem. The cops pulled us over, and the officer took in the spectacle of the young white couple and their 3 small children in a station wagon sporting Southern plates. "Sir," he addressed my dad, "roll up your windows and lock your doors. Go straight and don't stop until you cross the bridge." That night, on that same street, 4,000 people rioted in protest of the killing of an unarmed black boy by a white cop, and Harlem burned. I got older, and things got worse. My sophomore year in high school, Dr. King was murdered. Just before I graduated, the Supreme Court endorsed forced school busing to force desegregation. Wait, now whites were protesting and rioting against racial injustice. If you were paying attention, it was clear that something about the times, they were a-changin'. That change hit home for me in a field at a crossroads a mile outside of Montevallo, Alabama, in a most unexpected way. Russell and I were students at the small liberal arts college tucked away in that tiny southern town. He was a writer, I a budding photojournalist. Jimmy, an older friend, studied criminal justice and interned with the campus police. Over coffee and cigarettes at the local cafe, he confided that he had been detailed to the city police. They were going to join the state troopers and the FBI agents charged with keeping the peace at a Ku Klux Klan rally slated for that evening, July 4th, 1976, the American bicentennial. And would we like to go along? As darkness fell on that crossroads, we found ourselves in a group of 500 or so, milling around a 20-foot-high wooden cross driven into the red Alabama clay. A group of men in white robes and cone-shaped white hoods with eye holes cut into them were crowding a makeshift stage a few yards away from the cross. Floodlights ripped the darkness and illuminated a short little man in the same white robes and pointy-headed hood. His speech spewed a chilling mix of venom and hate that his cheering followers spewed right back at him. The exchange escalated, but at its crescendo, the lights went out. Silence and a mood of foreboding dropped on the scene. The crowd started milling again. Suddenly, the lights came on. I saw the crowd had retreated, leaving Russell and me exposed between the crowd and the now circling band of white-robed men. The short man lit a torch, touched it to the cross, and with a loud whoosh, it exploded into flame. I was pushing the shutter as fast as I could wind the film. The circling stopped, and my view of the cross was now blocked by one of the ghostly apparitions. I framed the image and made the photo. The crowd dispersed as the flames died. Russell and I walked back to Jimmy's car, silent, not believing we had really seen what we had just recorded. We walked around a van, and there they were, 4 black people, chatting and laughing with the cross still burning behind them. I was speechless. Russell, the writer, never at a loss for words, asked incredulously, "Why are you here? What are you thinking?" And at that dark crossroads in central Alabama, surrounded by all that hate, they raised defiant fists, and I took the picture. Now, years later, I look at the photograph and wonder what they were doing there. Wonder if they knew the significance of being there. Would that I could track them down and give them copies of the photo. They would be proud. Their children and grandchildren would be proud. Proud of how they kept hope alive and passed it on.
I read it in the paper the other day. Things are swinging in the USA. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Let me hear you now. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. I want to tell you so you know. Still the common Trojan. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Now you butcher, you baker, you clerk. We won't buy where we can't work. Keep your eyes.